Blog Talk Radio.
Mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the great pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Laurie Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Night Callers Radio.
It's January 1st, New Year's Day, 2015. Happy New Year and a Merry 2015 to all our listeners from Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. And we're all here tonight. I'm in a storm, and I've just prayed over this show, hoping that everything went right tonight. It's just going to be one of those wonderful beginnings to a fantastic New Year. So we welcome everyone to our show tonight. It's going to be a great show. I'm here with Lauren, Graz, and Billy, and I want to welcome them on the show. Hey guys, how y'all doing tonight?
Happy New Year.
How are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I don't know where that squeaky thing came in meaning New Year, but it'll have to do. It's all I got.
Aw, I didn't hear it.
Did you guys stay up and welcome in the new year?
No. I have a 2-year-old. That's a negative.
Yeah. It came, it went, you know.
Oh, my goodness. How about you guys? Did you stay up, or was I the only one that stayed up?
Oh, heck no.
Oh, my goodness.
I was in bed by about 9:30, but the idiots behind me celebrated hard enough for all of us with their fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. I wonder how many homicides on New Year's are due to parents of babies and toddlers killing the idiots that live near them for shooting off fireworks and waking up their children. I just want to know the statistics on that, because last night there were torturous thoughts running through my head at 12:10 in the morning.
Yeah. No, I actually stayed up till about 1:30, but everybody else crashed. It's kind of hard to have a party by yourself, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. How about you, Graz? What were you saying over there?
Midnight. Yeah, I heard dynamite going off around midnight. That's about all I was. It woke me up for a minute, and I rolled over and went back to sleep.
Dynamite.
Well, you know, I live way out in the boonies, and I didn't think I'd see any fireworks, but there were all kind of fireworks out there. People down on the deer leaf shooting off fireworks, my neighbors shooting off fireworks. It was like we were getting it from 3 different directions. It's quite a show. Pretty awesome. So I hate. We don't sleep in this part of the world. No, we don't.
Well,
We all we made it through the New Year's. It's good. So
there you go. There you go. Being the mom of a toddler, you are trying to be prepared because sure enough, the next morning my child was up at 4:00 in the morning.
Oh, of course.
Had I stayed up, I would have been hating life.
Yeah.
So it's all good though. It's all good. I'm glad y'all had a good Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we hope everyone out there listening had a great Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Definitely.
I'm really looking forward to this year. I hope it's as great as 2014 was. The 2014 was a stellar year.
Yes.
I really hope this New Year is just as wonderful as last year, or better, even. I really hope.
At the very least, it's going to be interesting.
Yes. I have a question. It's the first question of the year. What is a herd of babushkas? I heard this earlier today.
Grass is the one in the group most qualified to explain that. Go ahead, Grass.
Don't think I've ever heard of a herd. Yeah, I have enough problems just dealing with them one at a time around my neighborhood. That's all right.
Well, in all honesty, I was a little freaked coming into the show tonight. One of the co-hosts said, "Hey, Billy, can you catch the room? I'm 1 minute to go till showtime. Can you catch the room? I'm going to do something crazy." So I don't know what's going to happen.
Not even what I said.
Oh, okay.
What did you say then? That's what I heard.
I said, "Can you catch the room? My computer is doing something crazy."
Okay, see, I thought you said you were going to do something crazy, so I was sitting and waiting.
I don't usually warn you guys before I do that.
That's what scared me.
I like the element of surprise. This is how I operate.
All right.
New year, new me, everybody. I'm warning you. I'm doing something crazy.
What? Oh.
I can't tell you. I'm just
I
warning
don't
you.
believe her. She's going to sneak up.
Prepared.
No.
Did any of you make any New Year's resolutions? Any of you?
No.
Well, I'm not surprised. The three of you didn't stay up past me. It's no surprise that there are any New Year's resolutions either.
I thought about making one. I figured, what the heck, like I'm going to stick with it, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
My life is so perfect, I can't think of anything to make it better. So there.
You know what? That is so awesome, Grass. That is just great. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, I didn't make one either. I didn't. I am going to try to be a nicer person this year than I have. I am a really nice person anyway, but I could use a little improvement in that area. So I'm going to try to be a nicer person this year. That's mine. Yeah, that's mine. Well, so did everyone have a wonderful Christmas?
Yeah.
I did. It was really good. It was really kind of low-key this year. Hello?
Yes,
we are still here. Everybody's afraid to step on everybody. How about you, Grass? Do you have a good Christmas?
Yeah, it was okay. I don't.
It was perfect, right?
I don't do holidays any more than I do any other day of my life. You do what you do, and I figure Christmas is every day of the year, so I don't celebrate it as anything special.
Yeah. Bill, everything good at your house? Santa Claus come?
Yeah, pretty good. Had a whole house full of kids, and we had a good time. Thank God thank God it's over. Thank God for
That's
Jack
what everyone says.
I tell you, you get that many people crammed into a house, and whew. So, but yeah, we had a good time. The kids made out great, and just hope everyone else out there had a good Christmas. I have no complaints. It was good.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, hey, does anybody have any news before we start the show?
Nope.
No.
Oh, really?
Okay. Hey, Lauren, you want to catch the introduction?
I would, but I have that on to grab because he does such a more fantastic job at it than I do.
Oh, man, I didn't get that memo. Now, wait a minute. Who elected
I am passing the buck.
Oh, my.
You did do an amazing job on the intro last
Oh.
week. It kind of a no-brainer. You're really good at it.
Yeah.
Not that Lauren was bad at it, but you were really good at it. So, found your niche.
Simply the best.
Better than all the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen. Jeez. Night Callers Bigfoot Radio presents tonight Michael Johnson, who is a Colorado Bigfoot researcher, continuing the series of the North American Sasquatch research. Michael came to Colorado in 1977 from north of Salina, Kansas. He instantly fell in love with the mountains and Colorado and has spent countless days and nights exploring its majesty. He got started in this endeavor in the 1990s after finding 17-inch footprints in the snow at Rampart Range during Thanksgiving break. In the same location, Mike had a Class 1 Bigfoot sighting when he saw a male Sasquatch in person. This sighting was investigated by BFRO. Mike is very comfortable in the woods. He hunts elk and pheasant and is well adapted to search for the legendary creature in the remotest areas of Colorado in all 4 seasons. Mike is a Christian man. He is a husband, a father of 3, and a proud grandfather. He is very spiritual, whether it be in his religion or his search for his Indian heritage. He's a man's man who loves life, the outdoors, his friends, and his family. He is painfully honest, which has been his biggest challenge in this field, much to its surprise. Mike is interested in both the scientific side and spiritual side of the Sasquatch equation, which makes him a unique individual in the field today.
Okay. Wow, did y'all's studio just disappear and come back? Said the episode ended. Oh, it's doing it again. Am I here?
Yes, you're here, dear. You're here.
Okay, and Mike, are you with us?
I'm here.
Okay, well, I don't understand that my studio says the episode has ended and everybody's offline, and now they're all back.
When I tried to sign on to host the program, it was telling me it was having all kinds of problems. I had to re-sign back in again, so we may lose some people over time. We'll see what happens.
Yes, and the technicians are all out for the holiday. They won't be back till tomorrow. So, oh my goodness!
Someone must have done this on purpose. It's Blog Talk Radio again.
Yes, Mike, we're so very happy to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing good. Doing really good. Did you have a good New Year's and a good Christmas?
Yes, very low key. Very low key. But
That
yeah,
was
everything was great.
fun,
Just
too.
family and friends, and it was great.
Did you have any snow?
It's snowing right now. It snowed about 4 inches. Started this afternoon. It's really light. Hardly any moisture in the snow at all. It's really light. So, but it's about 4 inches deep. It's unusual. Usually we get a lot of wet, heavy snows here. And this snow is really light and fluffy. So, but it's been cold here. It's been really cold. So,
Wow. Well, I tell you what, I want to say that I truly miss snow. I think that when you have snow all the time, it would get real old. But we don't have snow down here very often at all. Like once maybe every 10 years. So. Snow is like really, really cool, but it shuts us down here in East Texas because we're not used to it.
Right.
Nobody goes to work, nobody goes to school. It's like 2 inches of snow on the ground and it's a snow day. Seriously.
We, growing up in Kansas, we had ice storms a lot, and in the wintertime, and boy, they're not good to drive on. They're not good for driving at all. So, you guys probably have ice storms once in a while, don't you?
Occasionally, yes.
Oh,
About
yeah.
as often as we have snow, But I think Billy probably has them more up there in northern Texas than I do down here. I'm too close to the Gulf. Yeah.
I got caught in Oklahoma in one that was pretty bad one time. Power lines were coming down and heavy ice on the trees and on the power lines and the poles and everything. But yeah, it was pretty bad.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, let me begin by asking you, when did you first develop an interest for Bigfoot?
After I found the footprints, more than anything. If you talk to most of my friends that I've had a lot of my life, I never really did much Bigfoot related until I found some footprints up at up by the Pikes Peak region. I got a new truck and I was driving it up with my brother on Friday after Thanksgiving because we had the 4-day weekend, and we were the first ones in. There was about 1 inch of snow on the ground, and I had it in 4-wheel drive, and we're up pretty high, probably about 9,500 feet, and we came across some prints that crossed the road, and they were, there wasn't any vehicle tracks or anything like that, so it was just, we knew it was odd right off the get-go, because we'd cross, we'd seen some deer tracks and some rabbit tracks, which in Colorado is pretty common. And these were not common at all. We knew we had something unusual. Pretty quick.
And it was obviously a barefoot track.
It was. Oh yeah, you could really see. You could see the prints really well. And what was really interesting is they came up over a little. We were at the top of this hill area where there's a big overlook, and they came down over the top of the knoll. And they kind of tried to stay away from the road, but then they kind of came down towards the road, crossed the road, really like they were nervous doing it, and then they dropped down into this ravine. And this ravine's like a 900-foot drop. It's a pretty steep 900-foot elevation drop over time, and it's incredible. We couldn't even go in there that day because of the snow. It's too slippery. You can't traverse it. It's too steep. And when I don't go in there anymore. I can. It's closed. But when I used to go in there, I would fall down a lot just walking. It's that steep. So.
What did you make of these tracks? What was your reaction when you saw them? Did you immediately think it was Sasquatch, or? You know what,
I didn't even go there, but my brother said, "Do you think it's Bigfoot, Mike?" And I said, "Well, I looked at my brother and I said, what else can it be?" I said, "What? There's nobody out here walking around barefoot." And the toes were really, kind of straight across versus how ours are kind of angled, and they were really wide, and you could see a lot of detail in the prints if you looked, in quite a few of them, and the way that the track line was just so bizarre, and where they went, there really wasn't a lot of, I wasn't sure, so that's why I kept going back. I kept going back and back and back. I went by myself. I went into that place probably 50 times, and that's where I had my face-to-face encounter down at the bottom of that ravine, that 900 foot in elevation. I would go all the way down in there by myself. I'd leave Parker and get up there, but it's about an hour and a half from my house, and I'd actually go up there and try to hit it at dawn. So I would be, and that's when I had my sighting.
So your sighting was during the day?
It was the morning.
Could you tell us about that?
I got a pretty good look. I was walking through a cedar thicket that was really, all the cedars were about 8 to 10 feet tall at the bottom of the ravine in a washout area, which I think was an old mine from the 1800s. The Pikes Peak region is loaded with old mines from the gold boom days, and most of them are still yet undiscovered. There's a lot. I go hiking up in there all the time, and I find things that you can see people have never even found. They'll still have one I found recently. You could see where the stuff was set up in they were sleeping in not even a building, but like a little lean-to they'd made, and the stuff was still sitting in there that they left, like some cans and stuff. But anyway, I was at the bottom of this cedar clearing and everything, and I was walking, and I remember distinctly, I was making quite a bit of noise going through there because there was a lot of deadfall and stuff on the ground underneath, and leaves and stuff, and I got to the end of it where there was a little stream, and I came out. I popped out into this clearing area. The other side of the stream had grass all on the other side, and then it went up, and it was pretty heavily wooded on the other side. And I came out of there, and I heard a rock up above me slide. And I looked up, and that's when I saw him. When I saw him looking at me. And I would have never known he was there if I wouldn't have heard the rock. The rock is what gave him away. He obviously was mirroring me about 20 yards, and he wasn't making any sound. Probably thought, he wanted to see what I was. See if maybe I was something to eat, as what I was thinking. And I looked. Well, there's a lot of deer and elk in this area, and they make quite a bit of noise. It's hard to walk through these low-lying cedar thickets and things like that without making noise. And either that, or he was just wanted to see what I was doing. I don't know. The funny thing is I remember the face had expression. The eyes were black and round. Nose wasn't like our nose at all. It was different. It was flatter, and the mouth was larger than ours, a lot larger than ours. Now I got a pretty good look. All black.
Describe his body and the color and
huge.
The height.
We went back. I went back with my brother when I told him that we saw, and we measured he was standing under a big pine that was on top of that. It was like a mine tailings pile, and he was about 8 feet tall, kind of a little bit of a cone head, huge, massive arms and shoulders, huge upper torso, and just really really muscled. But and the hair, it was kind of matted a little bit on one side. So I got a pretty good look. What was really bizarre to me is I got about a 20-second look, which is pretty long.
Yes, and it is.
I got a face expression like that. I'll be honest with you, at that time I was scared out of my mind. I thought, oh man, I'm down here by myself. This isn't going to be good. He was between me and the way out. And I thought, you know what, and I knew I couldn't get away even if I wanted to. But he just kind of went back into the cedars. It didn't make a sound, and left the area, apparently, because I never saw him or heard him again. But when he went back into the cedars, I tried really hard to listen to hear where he went, and I couldn't hear him move. So he was going through there making no noise, where when I went through there, I made a ton of noise.
Right.
Which really was amazing to me.
Yes, and it just baffles you. How can something that
baffled
big
me. It did. It baffled. You know what I did? I was afraid. There's no way to get out of that place fast because of the elevation change. And what I did was I went up above us. Between him and me, about another 100 yards, there was a big rock, and I went up onto the rock because if I climb up on the rock, I could see from 360. And because I was afraid, I'm not going to lie to people, I was scared out of my mind, and I was like, I need to get somewhere where, at least I have a chance. And I went up to the thing, and I got up on that rock and looked around, and he was gone. I couldn't see him, and I was above him then, and I couldn't see anything down into the cedars, and I didn't hear him. And I sat there for a little while, and then finally I said, well, I think he's gone, and I left. So that was it. I do tell people this. I was so afraid I didn't go back for about a year.
I was just going to ask you that. If it it affected your going out there.
I didn't go back by myself. I tried a couple of times to get people to go with me, and people really didn't want to go in there because it's a terrible hike. I mean, it's horrible. And and then the next time I went, I'm an honest guy. I'm going to tell you straight up. I took my 30-06. I fell down about 4 times, put a big scratch in my stock, and you know what? I got to the back. I was so frustrated with myself. I said, you know what? If he was going to kill me, he would have killed me the last time. He didn't kill me. And from that day forward, I kind of took a different attitude about it. And I just, whatever. If you're going to do this, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, was my attitude for a while. And now my attitude is I don't think they're there to hurt you at all anyway. So I've had experiences since then that have totally changed my mind. If I know what I know now, I would have walked towards them.
What was the length of time from the time you found footprints to when you had the sighting?
It was quite a while. I mean, I went in there a lot, and people ask me, how do I post a lot of tree breaks and stuff like that on our website. People ask me how I got started. I never even noticed those tree breaks but going into that place, I found a lot of those in the ravine. And later on at that place, I had an encounter with a pregnant female that I saw. And we went back the next week to cast some prints that she'd left, and she actually had damaged some of the trees in the area where the prints were. So I know she did it, and she left prints where she did it. So I know that she did them. And she actually pushed little aspens over, about 30-footers, and she pushed them over in X's. She pushed over 6 trees and 3 X's.
And this is the female Sasquatch you're talking about.
Yeah, oh yeah, female Sasquatch. Oh yeah, and I got to look at her too. And she was all black too. And I saw her again later up on the ridge. Unfortunately, I can't go to this place anymore, and it really makes me sad. But it burned up in a fire, so this place is gone forever, and it's not even open to the public.
Was it naturally like a lightning that caused it, or did they come in and burn it?
They have no idea. The fire, it's still pending.
Huh.
The whole area is closed.
That is
so.
Sad.
It is. It's very sad. It frustrates me hugely because the place I got started, I can't go to anymore. So
and you've had some wonderful experiences there too. It seems like.
Well, and I used to have a tree I used to take people to, and I used to go to, and they would break it off, and there would always be hairs on that tree. And they'd break this tree off, and there would always be hairs on there. And I think they were leaving them on purpose because I think it was a border between, I think, a couple of groups of Sasquatches, and they were leaving the hairs on purpose because they had scent. And we called it, in fact, the photo I sent you, that's the little tree behind it. That's me in that place. Last time I was, one of the last times I was there a long time ago.
What does that mean, the fire is pending? What's that mean? You can't go in there.
The Forest Service hasn't determined who's at fault for it. Somebody was at fault. The fire was started.
Right, but does that mean they have to actually block it off? They got all kinds of reasons for blocking it off.
Well, you know what's funny is there's other fires and the areas aren't closed. It is kind of ironic. There's other areas and the fire's not closed. Now, this fire also damaged houses extensively, and because it damaged houses extensively, and actually some people died in the fire, as an arson fire, somebody's going to go to jail if they ever get caught. So maybe they think they still have a chance of catching the people, and so they want to maintain the crime scene. Is what I'm thinking. I don't know. That's I can't answer that question. I don't know why it's still closed. There's other bigger fires that aren't closed, but that's my thought process. because people
Did
died
the fire
in it.
pretty much mess up your whole that whole valley up in there? Like mess around
It
as far as
burned.
spots coming down in there?
I tell you this. I've never reconnected with those Sasquatches again. I've never seen them or heard of them, but we do get reports at SIR, and every once in a while I get howls from the perimeter of this fire. So
right, I was going to say the perimeter sounds good.
I'm pretty confident they survived it, which is awesome. The places that they're calling from are private land, and that creates its own problem in and of itself. Yeah. So, why go there if I can't do anything long term at that spot, because of the private issue.
Right, especially on the spur of the moment when you just feel like going.
We got a report this year of some howling below Pikes Peak in one of the areas that I think could be them. I went and kind of halfway investigated it, but when I saw that it was all private, I was like, well, there's other places that are better, where I have a better shot, that I have free reign over. And I would rather go to those places with the free reign versus, trying to talk to somebody and say, hey, because I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go up and say, hey, I'm Bigfoot Researchers. Somebody's reporting hearing howling on your property. Can I come in there and look? About half the time you're going to get, about half the time you're going to get shot down in flames. So.
Digger Dog had a question, if I can break in.
Yeah.
Did he have an angry expression when he was checking you out?
No. It was like and it actually helped. He kind of had a I don't care expression. If you really want to know the truth. No, not angry at all. Not at all.
More like a
Yeah, like a oh, you weren't what I expected kind of thing. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure that was probably the case because that thicket, he was about 20 yards up above me, and you couldn't see 5 yards in that thicket. And I'm wondering if there was a mine up above me, because a lot of times here, a lot of cedars will grow at the opening of a mine, and I never went and investigated that, and I should have, but I ran out of time because of the fire.
Right.
So I never got to finish what I started. So.
I'm sorry, Laura, to break in. You had a question you were starting there.
Oh, that's fine. I had a couple of questions, Mike. Are you aware of any other sightings reports before the fire that came from that same area?
Oh, tons.
See, that's what
tons.
I'm thinking. That
the Pikes Peak
government conspiracy theories, and wondering if maybe they were. I wouldn't understand why they would burn down a habitat, but if it was getting too hot, and they were concerned that things were going to happen, they may have done this.
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I know where they had all kinds of news reports and everything on the fire, and I know roughly the place that they said it started, which is off of a trail that's pretty heavily used by people on the low side. So it could have been somebody just being careless, to be honest with you. But, man, were they careless. I mean, they burned a lot of houses up and some people died.
Oh, that was terrible.
It is terrible. And it's so sad because I drive by. I can drive around it, but it's a large area. It's a huge area. In fact, I also had another research area within the fire area, and it's also gone. So I lost 2 research areas in that fire. So people often ask me, are Sasquatches affected by humans? Oh, yeah. We had 3 huge fires here, Waldo Canyon, we had 4, Waldo Canyon, Springer, High Park, and Hayman. And I'm going to say, yeah, people got affected, and so did Sasquatches.
Which is the area that you were researching? What was it called?
The area that's burned up. I don't have any problem with telling folks because I don't think anybody's going to ever get to go there again. It's the Waldo Canyon area.
It's a shame. How long did it take you to finally get the courage to say you were a Sasquatch researcher and you're introducing yourself to potential witnesses and their property?
You know what? Right now I don't have any problems really doing it if I think it's worthwhile. And in fact, we have business cards and we give them out. But in the beginning, I didn't talk to too many folks about what I did. I was kind of on the down low. In the 90s, I didn't really talk to too many people. I kind of did it on my own, just as kind of a side thing to do. And then I started having some success, and that's when I started bringing folks with me, because when you have success, you want to share it if you can. Yeah. And so I started bringing folks with me. So I did report my visual sighting to the BFRO, and they came out and investigated it. But nothing much came of it.
I'd say that's kind of a no-no for serious researchers anyway, if you can. Just for other people out there, just don't bother sending things into BFRO. They'll come out and mess your place up most of the time.
Well, you know, this place, I will say this, it's such a hard place to get into. It was its own kind of, it was going to hurt you. It hurts you bad to go in and out of there in a day. So, and the older I get, the harder, you know, I'll be honest with you, in some respects I don't miss it, because at 52 now, I mean, getting in and out of there would be a chore. So I have better places now that are easier. So, you know, I'm sad that it's gone. I think about it a lot, but it's gone. It's burnt. That place got burned up bad, so it's gone. So,
what forms of equipment do you use, Mike?
You know what? I have most things. The SUR group kind of has equipment throughout it. We kind of just fund ourselves individually. I used to use stealth cams a long time ago, and I didn't have very much luck with them. So they kind of sit in a box now.
What kind of cams did you say?
Stealth cams.
Game cams.
Game cams. Yeah, okay, I never had luck with those things. I never really have.
Yes.
I got a story for you.
Okay.
People ask me, why don't stealth cams work? I've got a really smart group. I call it my Central Colorado group. And some of my researchers, some people really want to push for photos. I'm kind of past it now. I've been doing this for so long. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. That's fine with me. But some of my researchers they're newer and they're more gung-ho on that kind of thing and everything. I'm in it more for the experience now myself. But so I took them up there and I wanted to show them what would happen. I wanted to show them, and I took my stealth cam out of my Central Colorado group because I know they like to come. They're interested in the smells in this trash bag, and I always put the trash bag in the same spot. And I said, all right, I'm going to put the stealth cam. There's another little tree straight across from this trash bag tree that I hang the trash bag in. And I said, I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to camo it. But I'm not going to turn it on. And let's see what happens. So and I said, let's go on a hike. So we went on a hike. Came back. All the camo that I'd stuffed around the trail cam was on the ground in a pile.
Oh.
So what they're telling me is don't do that. I know your stealth cam's here.
Oh, my goodness.
Don't bother. Don't bother.
Yeah.
And see, that's what people don't understand. Somebody's watching you when you're in your campsite almost 24/7. So if you're doing something, that's why they don't get caught. If you're doing something, they watch you do it. And I've had things that have told me that time after time after time after time. If they're watching you put up the stealth cam, which they did, that's why they knew that it was there, probably more than likely, and then they pulled all the stuffing around it to see what I was doing, and then they purposely left it in a pile for me to see and said, it was kind of like saying to me, don't even go there.
Exactly.
You're wasting your time. We're not going to go to the trash bag now if you have your camera there. And they didn't. They didn't go to the trash bag the rest of the trip. So, you know what? I never even turned it on. I just left it hanging in the tree. I said, now you guys see why I don't really. And I've had a lot of electrical issues with them where they failed, especially up in my northwest location. The Sasquatches there didn't really like them, I could tell, and they whited out a lot. Like days in a row, every day. I'd walk through them, they'd be fine. There was evidence the Sasquatches walked through them, they'd white out. And why that happened, I have no idea. I can't explain it, but it happened day after day after day. Worked fine on us.
I had similar experiences, Mike, with game cams. I think it's overexposure. That when the camera is set off, that something's so close to the lens in the flash that it's just an overexposure. You can't, even if you try density on it and try to darken it, you still cannot pull out what it was because the initial image is so close to the lens and the flash that it just overexposes. And you just get a white picture. Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but we got smart. We tried to outthink our quarry. So we brought a ladder and we went three-dimensional. So we went up in a tree and put it in the tree over our gifting station, like 14 feet in the air. So we're pointing the stealth cams down at the feeding station. And when we got white out again. We put the camera a foot from the feeding station, we get white out. We put two cameras, one on either side, we'd get white out on both.
It's aliens.
You know what?
Aliens, Graf?
It's aliens.
Well, I hope not.
We got our hands full enough with Bigfoot.
Yeah, but no, you know what? We knew it was them because they were eating and they were leaving the plate, which they were doing, and they were leaving footprints. Now, there was a big one there, a big male, and he didn't really like everything we were doing all the time. And ironically, in the next trip we came back, that tree was broken. And there was a big place where we get all the footprints out of by our feeding station. The tree fell right next to our feeding station, covering up the entire area that we got footprints on. Wow. And I'm talking a big tree.
Yeah.
It was broken at 7 feet. It was about 60 feet. It's in a ring of trees in the center, and none of the other trees were damaged.
And there wasn't a storm or anything like that?
There wasn't a storm because we were back about a week later.
Mm-hmm.
And the tree had fallen. It couldn't have fell more perfectly if I'd have taken a crane, broke the tree, and dropped it where. And so it kind of shut down the feeding station. We had to move it. I think the big one was angry that got tired of the camera. Yeah. Is my personal thought. If you look at our trail cam dilemma on our website, you'll see evidence of what I'm saying. You'll see us go through. On that instance, I had two trail cams, one on one side of the creek, one on the other side of the creek. You drop down about 15 feet, and you hit the creek, and then you go up the other side. The stealth cams were placed not facing each other, but a little off. One was facing east, and one was facing west in the morning when that happened. And we did have Sasquatches in camp that night. And at about 7:30 in the morning, they both went off almost at the same time, and they both whited out, and there were footprints going through there. And we couldn't figure it out.
It's serious. I mean, I had always assumed it was an overexposure, but in that case, I can't explain that.
And all 9 shots were white. There were 9. They were set up to go in bursts of 9. And all 9 on both cameras, 9 and 9, both all went white. So I'm a real logical guy. I love Star Trek. I think Spock's cool. That just blew my mind. I couldn't wrap my head around it. That's when I knew I was dealing with something unusual. I was like, this makes no sense. People are like, well, it's the sun. Well, the sun doesn't work at this spot because it's down in a ravine. The sun wasn't a factor in either cameras because the canopy from the trees were 50 feet above it, blocking everything. I mean, it's a dark place. That's why they like to cross here, because it's a dark crossing. So the sun was not a factor, so it's not the sun. Both cameras doing it almost simultaneously, which we had the date stamp and the time on it. And, you know, there was evidence that one had walked through there. It was just like, huh.
Have you thought about plot watchers?
You know what? We have invested in plot watchers, and we have them now, and they will be used here. They are being used now as we speak. So if we catch anything, I'll let you know.
That seems like a really good stopping point. We're going to stop and go to footers. And, Lauren, are you ready to do footers now? You with us?
Yes.
Okay. So she's ready. I know it's a little early, but what I thought I would do, and I didn't get a chance to discuss with you guys, is kind of split up footers and intermission later. And so do footers a little early and intermission quite a bit later. Okay? So, well, that footers intro. Okay.
Hello, this is Walter Cronkite, and this is the way it is. Now, with Lauren Smith and Footers in the Field.
Hey everyone, it's time for your weekly dose of Footers in the Field. This one, I think everybody has heard about this or read this, but I'm going to go ahead and read it anyway, just in case someone out there hasn't. It's Scientists Challenge Abominable Snowman DNA Results. A theory that the mythical Yeti is a rare polar bear-brown bear hybrid animal has been challenged. Last year, Oxford University genetics professor Brian Sykes revealed the results of a DNA test on hares said to be from the abominable snowman. The test matched the samples with the DNA of an ancient polar bear. But two other scientists have said reanalysis of the same data shows the hares belong to the Himalayan bear, a subspecies of the brown bear. According to legend, the Yeti is a large and elusive ape-like beast. For many years, experts have been seeking scientific explanation for the abominable snowman. Professor Sykes, along with other genetics experts, conducted DNA tests on hares from two unidentified animals, one from Ladakh in northern India on the west of the Himalayas, and the other from Bhutan, 800 miles further east. The results were then compared with the genomes of other animals stored on a database of all published DNA sequences. Scientists found that he had 100% match with a sample from an ancient polar bear jawbone found in Norway that dates back between 40,000 and 120,000 years ago, the time when the polar bear and closely related brown bear were separating as different species. The species are closely related and are known to interbreed when their territories overlap. The sample from Ladakh came from the mummified remains of a creature shot by a hunter around 40 years ago, while the second sample was in the form of a single hare found in a bamboo forest by an expedition of filmmakers about 10 years ago. The samples were subjected to the most advanced tests available. Professor Sykes said the most likely explanation for the myth was that the animal was a hybrid of polar bears and brown bears. The research was reported widely by the media last year, and in July of this year, published by the Royal Society. However, following reanalysis of the same data, Dr. Edwards and Dr. Barnett argue that the hybrid bear does not exist in the Himalayas. They said that previous research mistakenly matched the DNA to an ancient Pleistocene polar bear instead of a modern polar bear. In their paper, they said their test identified the hares as being from a rare type of brown bear. The scientists said the Himalayan bear is a subspecies of the brown bear that lives in the higher reaches of the Himalayas and remote and mountainous areas of Pakistan, Nepal, Tibet, Bhutan, and India. Its populations are small and isolated, and it is extremely rare in many parts of its range. The Yeti, also known as the abominable snowman, is said the largest Nepal and Tibet. It just goes into all the things for her Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the gray man of the UK, and the other hair samples said to belong to Yeti have been scrutinized by experts before. What do you guys think?
Didn't they have the scalp of the Yeti at one time, and weren't they able to obtain samples from the scalp of the Yeti?
Yeah, that turned out to be a yak.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, was Lauren breaking up on you guys, or was it just
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and that last part just for a bit.
Yeah.
It's Blog Talk Radio. One more time.
It's just discouraging that there wasn't, more, that it wasn't an actual Yeti sample, what they could actually say it was. That was a great article, Lauren.
I just wonder, even if they did find an actual Yeti sample, if they would admit that, or let us admit that it was an actual Bigfoot or Yeti sample.
That's true.
There you go, getting all conspiratorial again. Geez.
Yeah.
That's where I live.
Ever in this long enough, it's bound to happen. That's all.
Well, that's the first thing that popped into my head about what Michael was saying about that fire. Like maybe they found some dead Bigfoot out there. They wanted to block the whole place off and get the bodies out and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar experience where, I'd find a really hot area, and then all of a sudden they decide they want to log it or control burn it. And animals, wildlife of any kind, is not going to hang around in an area that smells burnt. Even if just the undergrowth has been burnt, they don't go there.
Right.
And so, that's going to move whatever was in the area to another area. And that's something that I've really encountered quite a bit in my research. But I want to let everyone out there know that you can call in and talk to Mike if you have any questions for him. The number is 347-989-0313. And be sure to select one to go into the host queue, and we'll know that you have a question and that you're not just listening in. And so we're back with Mike. Mike, did you have a nice little break?
I did. That was interesting.
Well, it sure was. It was a great article, and thanks, Lauren.
You know what? I'm kind of I've been doing this now for 25 years. I started about 90. It's 2015. There ought to be enough decent hairs. Now, I will say this. Everything in the woods is hairy. So going into the woods and finding hair from a Sasquatch is problematic because everything is hairy.
Exactly.
And unless you see the Sasquatch leave it on the tree, you're just guessing.
Or unless it's over 8 feet off the ground.
Yeah, but even bears climb trees and raccoons climb trees and squirrels climb. So it's problematic. In the future, I'm going to look towards different ways of maybe getting that DNA. We've been doing this hair thing, with this hair dance, for how long now? And it isn't getting anywhere. Well, I'm feeding them on plates, and they're obviously licking the plates. They're touching it with their hands. Maybe we need to lose the hair and maybe go to something like that. There's enough people out there like me that are gifting them that maybe we ought to shift gears, lose the hairs, and maybe go to something a little bit more like this. Saliva is going to leave you a better DNA sample than hair.
Yeah, people said the same thing about peanut butter jars.
Yeah. Well, peanut butter jars, plastic. I use paper plates. So, and I know it's them because sometimes they deliver them to me. They'll leave them in the back of my truck.
What about contamination, like other animals?
Well, and so you're going to have to be taught. You know what needs to happen is then a scientist needs to come and run the experiment.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We really do need the help of our scientists.
If they would help, come and run the experiment, let me do what I do, and then they do what they do and not ruin my place, we can probably get to the answers that everybody needs. But the way we're doing it, I've sent hares everywhere. They get lost. I never hear. Inconclusive. Hares, as far as I'm concerned, in 2015, hares are a waste of my time. And that's the truth.
Well, they're not comparing the samples between labs either. No one's starting a database.
Yeah, and that's problematic. The whole DNA thing, I hate to say, is problematic. It just seems to be problematic.
Yeah, well, what this one group was saying, I was watching, Definitive Guide. Have you seen that one yet?
Yes,
Definitive
I have.
Guide to Bigfooting. Right. They were saying probably the most conclusive would be bone or
I
tooth.
would agree. And you know what? I really like that new show on TV about the guy running around looking for giant bones.
I haven't seen or heard about that one. What is it?
Which one is that? I haven't even
There's a guy from Massachusetts that's running around in the forest that there was like 1,500 news articles in the 1800s of them finding giant bones with skeletons with double rows of teeth. And all these skeletons have disappeared. Some of them even got sent to the Smithsonian.
I've heard of that, the old Smithsonian legend where they go to the Smithsonian.
Well, this guy actually found a news article that the local doctor said in the article he sent it to the Smithsonian. So where did it go? And
I had heard that the skeletons were coming from mounds, from burials.
Yeah, they came from mounds. They came from. They were buried in the sides of rivers, in the rocks in the sides of rivers. It's
finding
a great.
When they're clearing land and plowing.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's a great show. It's a great show. That America Unearthed with Scott Walters. He has that giant bones in Minnesota where there's an 8-foot skeleton supposedly buried between two Native American women. Well, he went to dig it up, and the state and the Native Americans blocked him from digging it up. So, you know what? I think the man's on the right track. He might be on the right track. I don't know, but we have big things in the forest. We used to have big bones. Maybe he's on the right track. I'd like to hope.
Well, I believe we have a caller. Grass, can you get that 740? There's a question mark next to their number, and I think we have a question.
Just a second. Okay, 740, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Hi. I want to call and ask a question. He had said he had seen the pregnant Sasquatch, and I was wondering, when he saw her the second time, was she still pregnant, and did he see any facial features or anything like that?
No, I actually saw her running away from me. And what was really significant about that was we had a track line. There was only a couple of perfect tracks, but we didn't have – this place was really hard to carry stuff in. We didn't carry casting materials because we weren't expecting that this day. I don't know why we were unprepared. It's when I first started. Actually, no. It was in well, anyway, I was with Scott, a gentleman by the name of Scott Walters that used to be a SIR member, and we were up, and we saw the pregnant female. I saw the pregnant female, but I saw her from the side and the back leaving the scene, okay?
Mhm.
But you could tell she was pregnant. And what was really interesting is she was dropping pine boughs as she left the scene. Like she was making a nest.
Wow.
And if you go to our website, I talk about that. I also talked about it on Facebook here recently. We got some really great pictures, and we followed her for a quarter of a mile downhill. She went down the steep ravine, and then she shot up over this steep hill, and then we never saw her again. But I only got a quick glimpse of her, but you could definitely tell, based on what I've seen now, I know she was pregnant. She looked pregnant.
Wow.
And it was May. It was May. I've always contended, and this is my thought, but the reason Patty didn't run is I think she's showing. A lot of Sasquatches are much thinner than Patty.
Mhm.
You look at a lot of the drawings, they don't draw Sasquatches as heavy as she is.
Mhm.
A lot of our Sasquatches seem to get together in May and June. So if you got together in May and June and you had a long gestation period, if I recall, Patterson-Gimlin would be in October. She should be showing, right?
Yeah.
She had full, heavy breasts like a pregnant lady would.
Mhm.
So, and pregnant ladies don't run.
No.
No, we don't.
And she didn't run, did
she?
She didn't run, did she?
So I wanted to tell you too. I saw the show you're talking about with the guy looking for the bones.
Yeah.
And that's really very interesting show. And I think it's called Looking for Giants or something like that.
Yeah, Legend of Lost Giants or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Right. And then I've seen the one for the Unearth about the giant skeleton. Yeah.
I really keep up on everything. I watch everything, I read everything, and I try to learn from everybody else. And the reason I started, sir, is if you look at my website, if it's decent and I think can help somebody else get farther along, I put it out there for you. If you don't believe, that's fine with me, but I want to show you what I've seen. And my truth is they are real because I've seen them for one, but all this evidence that's starting to pile up, and a lot of it's always been there, but a lot of people have been afraid to show it. And I saw that when I first came out, and I was like, somebody's got to just show everything. Right. And that's my goal, to show everything. If I get it, I'll show it.
I appreciate you answering my questions.
Yeah. And I do think that show is worthwhile. I really do.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to keep watching it.
Me too.
I'm going to keep watching it. Great question, though. And we got we had a baby born at our Northwest Colorado site, and we got footprints from the baby. The mama had 17-inch prints, and baby left little footprints around our camp, and they're on our website too, under Bigfoot footprints, and the toes are all straight across. And she tried to cover up the baby. She set the baby down, and she tried to cover it up with her big pads. You can tell, especially if you were there. We put a nickel down for scale, but we knew we had a baby around. Babies kind of bark. They can't talk, so they kind of bark. It's kind of like, "Arr, arr." I've heard it now at 3 of our locations.
I've heard
so I know that's
myself.
Yeah, well, that's a baby Sasquatch.
Wow.
It's like it sounds kind of like a seal. Is the way I put it. It sounds like a seal. We also have it on. If you listen on Audio 1, you'll hear it's Audio Pound 1. Use your headphones. You're going to hear Mama grunt at baby. You're going to hear her go, "Oh," and then you're going to hear baby go, "Oh." You know, baby's doing it the whole time. "Oh, oh, oh." Throughout the recording, and I think he's doing it to kind of keep track of Mom, or Mom's having him do it to kind of, because they're in our campsite on that trip. They're literally, that recorder's on a card table 10 feet from my tent. And unfortunately, I'm sleeping through it. It's weird. They they know when you go to sleep almost automatically by some snoring, and that's when they come in. That's when they come in. But if you got your recording going, you can pick it up. So that's what happened on that audio one. That recording is a 12-hour recording, and I've never fully released it, and I probably will do that in 2015. It basically, you'll hear me and my son. Me and my son are it that are there. He's younger. He's like 8 or 9 at the time. We go up on a Saturday night, and I start the recording, and you can hear us talking for about 3 or 4 hours. Then you hear nothing because we went to bed for about 3 hours, and then you can literally hear them come into camp. And what's really bizarre is the static that you hear on that recording is only there when they're in camp. And there's nobody at this place. This place is Northwest Colorado. It's the middle of nowhere. There was nobody there. So, and then it stops about 7 o'clock in the morning, and parking stops. So,
wow.
It's kind of like they left, and the birds are chirping, and it's another head scratcher.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. I will check that out, and I thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Lori, for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, Mike, can you tell us what your website is? I don't believe that you sent us the URL, so we didn't put it up.
It's www.sasquatchinvestigations.org.
www.sasquatchinvestigations.org. Okay.
Yeah. The biggest thing recently that we've had besides sightings, and we are having sightings. My son had 2 great sightings in 2013 and 2014. Saw a big gray one behind my truck, run from behind my truck after we got back to camp, run down the hill. He was the first one back to camp because he's younger and he's always way ahead of us. But he came. What was really interesting, he was about 100 yards ahead, and he was carrying my backpack. He left my backpack in camp and then ran back to the group because he saw the big gray one behind my truck. He came into camp, and he went to the fire pit, and my truck was off to the left, and the big gray one popped up from behind my truck and then ran down the hill, and he ran towards us. So,
how old is your son?
My son is now 15.
At the time, how old was he?
That was like last year.
Oh.
And there is a big male at this place. He's reddish-brown, and he is 10 feet tall. And a lot of people say, well, they only grow 8 feet. No, they get bigger.
No.
He's 10 feet tall. He's got 20-inch footprints. He leaves them all over the place.
We got footprints in the 20s up here, too.
Yeah, he's got 20.
Down here in East Texas.
Yeah, 20-inch prints. And you know how I know he's 10 feet tall? My son saw him right behind our tent, and he had his head underneath a tree, underneath the canopy, and my son said his head went about 3 inches above this little branch. Well, we could measure that. It's really measurable. It's the first branch,
Uh-huh.
So we know he's 10'3". He's about 10'3". But yeah, he's the big male there. I've seen him too, so I know he's 10 feet tall. I can collaborate that with my son. I have seen him. And last year, he walked into my camp. Robin and John were with me. It was Friday night. We went up for a Friday and a Saturday. They were really tired because they worked all week, and I happened to have the week off. And the big male came with his eyes glowing into camp at night after they started snoring. I was sitting in the dark on the back of my tailgate, but I know he knows I was there. And I walked over toward, he stopped on the edge of camp, and I walked over towards him, and this is a big open area, so he came out exposed into the open. There was no moon that night, but I could make him out his silhouette and everything. And I walked to about 15 feet from him, and that's as far as I could go in my mind. And that's what I did. And I sat down, and I looked. I was looking
down?
up. I sat down because I tried to be.
That had to have been hard. I would have stayed on my feet just in case I had to vacate.
I sat down, and because I tried to be as less intimidating as possible. I've been going to this place for 5 years now, and this is what I was hoping for, to get to this point. So I played this through my mind's eye a million times, and I had all these questions, and I asked all these questions. I even closed my eyes. I said, if you don't want me to look at you, I won't look at you, because obviously you're coming out in the dark. But I said, I've already seen you anyway, and you know that. And I just talked like a normal person, and he never said anything. But I closed my eyes. I said, if you want to come over and touch me, you can touch me. But he never did. You know what? I rambled on for like 2 minutes and was looking at him, and he just kind of turned, and I could only see, not very good because it was really dark. This place is really dark, and he just walked away. I could hear him walking away. He didn't run. He just walked away.
What would you have done if he had came over and touched you?
Probably, I don't know. Probably poop my britches.
Yep. Throw them on the fire and burn them.
People ask me a lot, what's the easiest way to tell if somebody's telling the truth? Fear. If they didn't have any fear, they didn't live it.
That's right.
I've been around this group for 5 years, and I know they like me, and I know they trust me because of the way things have happened and played out. But I'm still afraid sometimes. It's just human nature. It's your instincts, and
when you're dealing with something of that size, the size is very intimidating. And the fact that you don't know what they are exactly.
There's a cultural divide between us and them, and what if you made a body language that you didn't realize and pissed them off for some reason or other? So it is.
Guys, I look at it like this. If I'm not going to go to do these things, then I should be doing something else. Because if you're going to be the pioneer to get to the next place and the next level, somebody's got to do it. When the aliens land and somebody's got to go touch one, somebody's got to do it. So I guess I'm the guy that's doing it. And I've had other, they've left me gift after gift after gift after gift. And I sleep in my tent. What kind of
gifts did they leave you? I'm curious. I've been gifted as well.
Lots of rocks. Rocks and shapes and patterns of things are really important to them. So I get lots of rocks. And they'll return my plate. If they really like something a lot, they bring it to me, or they make sure that I know they liked it. They've taken stuff out of our camp, and then we've gone back a week later, and they've returned it. Wow. So it's the dynamic here is pretty far along. The fear I have is I have to own it. It's my own fear. They haven't done anything to me there to make me have it. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I approach the place. But like I said, I didn't go over and touch him. He just stood there and in one spot. Who's to say I couldn't have?
Right. Do you ever have those coulda, shoulda, woulda moments? I know I have.
Well, yeah, on that one right there.
Yeah.
There. Why didn't I go touch him? Maybe he wanted me to go touch him. You know what, though? I didn't get that vibe. 15 feet seemed to be good for him, and it seemed to be good for me.
Yeah, pretty close, though. That is really close.
It was really close, and I could see his outline and his shape. And, based on my son saying what he saw, I knew that's who I was dealing with. And the 20-foot prints, inch prints, and I'd seen him before briefly. I actually go camping at this place by myself. We don't, when we have an outfitter's tent, we don't stake down the tent. They'll lift up the sides of the tent and touch you. Wow. So, and they really do that at our Northwest Colorado location. In fact, the new people, we make them sleep in the corner because Big Mama likes to lift up the corner of the tent and touch you.
That'll make you go to sleep right away. No.
And on that
I'd be up
note,
all night like a raccoon would be coming by and go, it's her.
and on that note, we really should take a quick break.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Yes, we can. We can go ahead and go to intermission, and I hate to, but that's fine. Let's go. And
We got 45 minutes to the show, and then we can finish up.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, we'll be back in a moment, folks.
All right, I'm going to click on this. I'll be back in about 7 minutes.
All right.
Happy New Year from all of us at Night Callers Bigfoot Radio.
Happy birthday, Sting. How many of you people out there been hurt in some kind of love affair? And how many times do you swear that you'd never love again? How many lonely sleepless nights? How many lies, how many fights, and why would you want to put yourself through all that again? Love is pain, now you say. Love is a cruel and bitter way of paying you back for all the faith you ever had in your brain. Could it be what you need the most? Could leave you feeling just like a ghost. You'll never feel so sad, lost again. One day you could be looking through an old book and rainy weather. You see a picture of her smiling at you when you were still together. You could be walking down the street and should you chance to meet by that same old smile you've been thinking of all day. Why don't we turn the clock to zero, honey? We'll stay outside and spend the money. We're starting a brand new day. Turn the clock all the way back. I'm begging if she'll take me back. Thinking in a brand new way. Turn the clock to zero, sister. You'll never know how much I miss you. I'm starting up a brand new day. Turn the clock to zero, boss. The river's wild and swimming across me. Starting up going to sing. We'll see you later.
Some of our listeners have seen one or more of the elusive species of Sasquatch, but for those of you who wish to see one and have not had the experience yet, let me share a bit of wisdom with you. First of all, nothing will prepare you for the first time you encounter a Sasquatch. Depending on the proximity of this first encounter will determine how comfortable you are. It always helps to prepare yourself mentally for what you're going to see. I know we have all heard the description, but no one really has the reality ready for how big, how hairy, and how different they are from anything you've ever seen before. While you are in the woods, becoming one with their world, try to imagine how big they are going to be and the different scenarios that may play out. Have some ideas on how you should react to the benefit of a productive encounter. Be mindful that they are probably watching you too. So do your best to be respectful of their home. Their reputation by most accounts is a reclusive and non-aggressive species. So enter their world with a peaceful spirit. Good luck and happy watching with Laurie Phillips, and we're back to Night Caller Bigfoot Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Night Caller Bigfoot Radio. We're talking to Michael Johnson tonight. If anyone has a question for Michael, the number is 347-989-0313, and please press 1 to put yourself in the host queue. We'll know you have a question and that you're not just listening in. Mike, welcome back from break.
Thanks.
And
we do have a couple of questions from the room.
Okay.
Ramble 1 wanted to know if a bear can give off a sewer or a rotten smell.
You know what? In my experiences, sometimes they smell really bad and sometimes they don't smell at all. They do smell more when they're wet. I will tell you that. I was up in my northwest Colorado location for a week-long trip, and it rained 3 days, and every time they come around, I could really smell them a lot. It was kind of like a sweet, skunky smell for that group. But some of the groups, the hygiene doesn't seem to be as well, and it's more like a rotten sewer smell. It just depends. It depends. So, but a lot of times in the summer,
and skunky at the same time.
Yeah, kind of you know how a skunk is just kind of a harsh smell. It isn't quite like that. It resembles a skunk, but it isn't quite the same. Is the way I would characterize it. But in Colorado, now you got to understand, you're in East Texas. East Texas is a lot different. It's a lot wetter. Colorado is really dry. We average like 10, even though it's snowing today and it's snowing a lot this month. A lot of times in December, I can go hiking up in the woods. There's not that much snow in some of my areas, which this year it's not the case. But so it's really dry here, and that being the case is I think that plays on why they don't smell as much. Obviously, if you're living in the swamp, you're going to be more apt to smell than you are if you're living in a really dry climate. So Colorado's kind of a high desert.
Digger Dog wants to know, does he take a dog out with him when he goes out?
I hate talking about this, and I tell you why. I love pets. But I have a group of Sasquatches that are so smart that they've figured out that if they get rid of your dog, you don't come back. And why would that be? They're a remote group, and they don't really care for people. People that live in remote places do that for a reason, right? So do Sasquatches. The remote groups really don't like to be found. And there's one of our groups that has figured out if they kill your dog, you don't come back.
Has there been any dog killing?
A lot. Lots.
Oh, goodness.
Lots. More than we found one that was dead under a wood pile one time on a Memorial Day, and we were there on Saturday, and it obviously happened the night before, and we wouldn't even have known, but the buzzards were looking for the smell, and it may have happened 2 days, obviously long enough for the dog to start smelling, and the buzzards hadn't found it yet. We found it before the buzzards did, but it was covered up with sticks and stuff. And the people were gone. They left their dog, and plus people have buried their dogs there. Of all the places I go camping, this place has about 4 dog burial sites, and I've been there when people are trying to camp within the area, and I've heard the Sasquatches. You can tell when the Sasquatches go from camp to camp at night. The people have no idea what's going on. I know what's going on. Their dogs react. So I can hear the Sasquatches going from camp to camp, and every time the dogs react, the dogs are always uncomfortable. And we've also found, like my co-founder, Scott Bardo, was with me one time, and a guy was camping there, and he had a dog. When he left all of his dog stuff there. So why would you do that? Dog didn't make it. He left the collar, everything. So... that group has figured out that thing. And why would they do that? First off, dog's gonna figure out they're there before we ever are.
Yes.
And so they're a threat to being seen. Mm-hmm. And that's the sad reality. I also tell people this: the dynamic has changed, but we have long memories. What did we do with the wolf? We exterminated the wolf.
Yes.
Why did we do that? Because we felt like we needed to. It was a threat. No different at all. And I also tell people this. I think that they, like us, a long time ago had that same innate fear of wolves.
Yes.
The only thing that probably could kill a baby Sasquatch, if a family group came upon a pack of 30 wolves, and there was a mom, a dad, and a baby might not make it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they have that same innate fear of dogs built into them to a certain degree that we do. Now, I don't like talking about that because people need to take their dogs to the woods. People need to go out there. This is a rare thing, and this is a rare place. And it's a remote place, fortunately, and it doesn't happen that much. But I've been there enough now. I've seen the dynamic play out. And in this place, that's how the Sasquatches react to your dog. Also, your dog is going to give you away. The Sasquatches are going to know your dog, and Sasquatches and dogs just don't seem to get along. Even the BFRO, and they've been around forever, discourages you from bringing a dog to the expedition. So I think what it does is it lessens your chance to have an encounter. So if you want an encounter...
I do believe that's true. I have to agree with you there.
If you want an encounter, and if that's what you're asking me, I'm saying don't bring your dog. And that may be why a lot of people don't have encounters. They go to the woods to let their dogs run and have fun and everything else, which I grew up in Kansas in the country. You had German Shepherds. They need their space. They need to get out and run. They need to do what they need to do. The other thing is, and I don't know if it's here or the same in Texas or not, but here I find that when I find Sasquatch groups, I also find a lot of coyotes.
Yes.
And I don't know if the coyotes annoy them. Coyotes, the trickster, which the coyote's just being opportunistic. He's probably taking advantage of scraps and things that they're leaving. But the scavengers know the Sasquatches are there. They definitely do. And when I find a group of Sasquatches, I also will find in conjunction with them coyotes, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if that annoys them or not. It might, because the coyotes are giving them away. So
let me tell
I don't know.
Micah, this has been my experience, and I don't know if it's particularly isolated to the area I'm in, but doing audio recordings and everything, it seems like there is always a low D howl
And after the low, deep howl, there will be coyotes will chime in and begin chase. And at first I thought it was coyotes making the howl. But then after a time I realized the initial howl was so deep, and it was not, I don't believe, after a while I started to believe that there was some sort of symbiotic relationship there, where maybe the Sasquatch had made a kill, and then they literally rang the dinner bell, and then the coyotes then gave chase or became involved and took care of any evidence that was left.
See, that's where what I like. The Sasquatches are smart. What's a great way to have the bones be spread around?
Exactly.
Coyotes
that's
coming in after you. Well, and if in one of my spots, there's a lot of evidence of deer and elk predation, which I know the Sasquatches are doing because I can tell by the way the bones are broken. There's not little coyote teeth marks or dog teeth marks all over the bones. So I know that a lot of them are and they leave them through this track line. The Sasquatches in one of my areas are traveling through this dark corridor of forest along this road. They like it there. It's in a ravine. They can see up out of the ravine onto the road to see what everybody's doing, but they can't be seen very well. And there's a lot of bones left in there. So, but they've also left me plates in there. So I know it's them. And it's also, by the way, where the dog was left. So I know that it's them doing it. What was interesting about the dog too, and I'm gonna tell people this. It looked like there were no evidence of any wounds on exterior on the dog. So what do I think happened? I think the dog was thrown from the tail.
From internal injuries or something.
Yes.
From
the tail.
Place. Oh.
No, grabbed by the tail and thrown. It would be my guess. Which would be the way that you would do that. Has anybody ever seen the way a dog kills a snake? My grandpa used to train his German shepherds to kill snakes, and his German shepherds would run by his combine, and if a snake came along, my grandpa didn't want to step on a snake, so his dogs would pick up the snake by the back of the tail, and then they'd snap them, and their heads would. So I wonder if it's that same kind of dynamic going on.
It broke their neck.
Yeah. Well, and they can throw a dog or an animal a long way. So a long way hurts. So, but anyway, I don't want to talk about that. I'll be honest with you, that bothers me somewhat. But it's just like humans. We have things that we do that I'm not really fond of. And Sasquatches aren't perfect either, and some of them do things that I don't particularly care for. But for the most part, they just leave you alone.
Okay, I want to move on to. I want to step backwards a little bit on the static that you were hearing over the recording. Now, have you been recording the whole 25 years, or just recently, or? Have you noticed the difference in equipment and the static being like what I'm saying? Is, I'm kind of going based. I've been researching for almost 15 years. So when I first initially started recording, I used a Radio Shack recorder and a stock mic. That's all I had at that time. They didn't have all the things they've got now. I didn't have a lot of problems with static. I've noticed since I've upgraded to the more expensive recording devices that I've had problems with static, especially during the times when I know they were in the area. All of a sudden I would have static or feedback, electronic feedback, things like that. What do you think, what is your idea on that?
Oh, boy. That was a hard one.
Well, and I don't want you to step out of your comfort zone either.
No, I understand. We discuss it openly. I try to be open about everything. We've had battery drain.
Yes.
My researcher, Brad Corliss, he's one of our research partners out of Utah. He brought his brand new FLIR Scout into one of my northwest location. It was fully charged. He walked 20 feet from his vehicle, and it just went from 100 to 0. So, and we've had battery failure a lot. What's interesting about that 12-hour recording, the barking starts, the static starts at the same time, and it ends at the same time, which makes you wonder. You have a voice, and you'll hear Mama grunt in that audio one, so I know they're there. So they seem to kind of come and go with the static. So a logical mind would say somehow they're tied to the static. Now, what is the static? I don't know. Some people talk about infrasound. Some people talk about electrical capabilities. Is it possible? Based on my experience, I'm going to answer that with a big yes.
Yes. What about overmodulation or something like that being a problem? I always wondered about that being like an overmodulation causing some of the distortion.
Do I know what it is? No. They do talk really deeply, way deeper than we talk. Their voices are actually really deep. And I wonder if that's not part of it. The honest answer is I don't know, but there is something weird going on. I will say that, I've had it happen at more than one camp with more than one group. So it isn't an isolated experience with one group. It's obviously, and these places are hundreds of miles apart, 500 in some cases in Colorado. So it isn't an isolated incident. It's something that happens, I could say, statewide.
Okay, and what about the theory that they have a high metabolic energy? That it could be that they are just literally expelling some sort of energy.
I have no idea on that one.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm being honest. I don't know the answer. Do I think something strange is going on? Can they do something, or is something happening when they're around that's unusual? My answer is a resounding yes.
Okay.
Resounding yes.
Have you ever experienced infrasound?
I've felt something in my chest before, and I felt paralyzed on one side up at our camp we call Elk Camp. And it was a strange feeling. I felt like I couldn't move on one side, and it was in my chest, which ironically your chest, it felt like it was in my heart, and your heart is an electrical muscle. So, and other people that have gone with us that weren't expecting it, that didn't even believe in Bigfoot, had it happen to them too. So I've had about 7 or 8 people that we've taken on various occasions to various spots complain of that symptom. So what it is, I don't know. But
well, between you and me, Mike, we both had heart attacks. I don't think we need those kind of symptoms.
No, and that's why I like that they kind of like me these days. They can't be doing that anymore. Obviously. Out of all the
nitro?
Yeah, out of all the times I've been, I only had it happen that one time to me. Now other people have had it happen more, and I obviously believe a lot in what you said earlier before I came back on. A lot of it's the mindset and the baggage you take with you when you go. I always try to go in a good mood, be upbeat. I want to be the guy that I want them to come kind of attitude. If you're not that guy, if you're afraid or you're fearful or anxious, nobody wants to be around that guy, right?
Right.
So I think a lot of that has to do with that. I will say this, their best tool, they don't have to ever hurt anybody. Their best tool is fear. And they play it better than anybody or anything that it's ever lived. They'll pick out the weak link and play on that person's fear, and nothing will make somebody go faster than that. And we always bring
an example where there's a pride of lions sitting out in the middle of the savannah, and a whole herd of antelope is going around them, and just going around them. They're looking over their shoulder, but they just keep on going because they can sense that the lions are not on the hunt. There's a kind of a natural sense that we've lost, that they possibly still have contact with, and they probably do, where they can feel intent.
Well said.
Along those lines.
Well said. And you know what? That makes perfect sense, and I couldn't agree more. It's like they know the weak link. And if you think about it, that pride of lions, if there's one antelope that's injured, they pick it out. There might be 200 of them, and they always get it right. So maybe it's the same. You know what? Maybe it's just the thing that predators do, and you're right. We've just lost it.
Yeah.
And that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Sometimes we're taking, like Lori said, we're taking our baggage out there, and to us, it's like humans out in Disneyland. We are the invaders into a natural setting, a natural sense that is going on out there all the time by everything out there. Now, we may be able to, every once in a while you hear about reports where a guy sneaks up on and surprises. But it's for some reason or other, it's distracted and gets snuck up on. But most of the time, they're in connection with whatever's going on out there, and they know you're there a long time before you even get near that. And the feeling of intent. I mean, all these people out there, you see them in videos where they're all dressed up in camo, and they're hunting around out there at night, and they're sneaking and all that kind of stuff. They're not going to see a damn thing.
No, I couldn't agree more. I do wear camo when I camp, you know. Hunters are what they see all the time. Mm-hmm. So they should be used to that. And, you know, some people are like, well, don't wear hunting gear because of the gun thing. And I'm like, well, you know what?
Well,
I'm wearing what I want
to. Bigfoot hunters out there, you know, and with their intent of hunting.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And they're just not going to have much luck. The Sasquatches are smart. They're in their environment, and they have not lost a bit of it. In fact, they're improving upon their environment daily, and they fit perfectly in their environment, and we don't. So we're the odd man out in their environment. When and you got to think about this. It's just like being in your home. When we're in their home, they own us. Just like when somebody comes into your house, you pretty much own them because you know your house. So, no, I couldn't agree more on that. What you say? They're marvelous creations. They're for what they need to do, they do it well. So, they amaze me. They amaze me. I can't get enough. You know, I can't get enough. In fact, I'm really stir crazy because of the bad weather here. The Sasquatch is here kind of hunkered down when we get as much snow as we're getting this year. So it's kind of futile. You might go find a track line, but you'll never follow it to the end because it might be 25 miles long.
You think they get pushed down by the snow line?
And I do. I think they get pushed down by the snow line. The elk get pushed down, but the preferred food source is elk here, and the elk are elevationally based on the year of season. They move to the high country in the summertime, and then they move down in the winter. So do I think they follow them? I'm going to unequivocally say yes.
Yeah, I'm up in Washington. I'm thinking the same thing. They follow the deer and the elk. They've got to.
Yeah, my groups here I know, and the elk move to a lot of time here, private land and to government lands, and they go to places that are inaccessible anyway. And we have a lot of government programs that feed the elk here to try to help the farmers so they don't eat all their hay and stuff. So I'm sure that they're moving down in the column. I know my Northwest Colorado group, it's at 9,500 feet. They're gone in the winter because I've been there in November and December. I pushed the envelope one December, and I went up there, and it wasn't pretty. They weren't there anyway. And I've also gone camping in January in my Central Colorado, and they weren't there either. So, but neither were the elk really in either time. So I'm confident in that. So.
Okay, we got about
Makes
10
sense,
minutes.
doesn't it?
Lori, what's up?
Yes, we have about 13 minutes left in the show, and if anyone wants to call in, now would be the time to do it. It's 347-989-0313 and select 1. And I'm going to kind of change gears here, Mike. You feel very comfortable in the woods. You've hunted elk and pheasants, and you're adapted to the altitude and all of your environment. You've been out in the woods a lot, up in the mountains a lot. Have you become more spiritual because of your search for Sasquatch and your encounters with Sasquatch? Have they made you more spiritual, or would you say you're more spiritual because you have spent more time in nature?
Well, I think I'm more spiritual because of my age, for one. Okay. You know, I'm more mature, and it's more important to me. But I think once you realize that the world is more interesting than you thought it was, and that there are things that are still out there that people don't know about, it really makes you think about everything. You stop, you look at when you see a Sasquatch, it changes your whole world and your perspective.
Amen.
Everything you've ever been told, you kind of start to question.
Exactly.
Well, wait a second. There's this big, giant, hairy Sasquatch in the woods, and everybody tells me it's not there, but I've seen it. It's there. So what else isn't right? Well, you know, you just kind of change how you are. I go to church and everything. I always look at it as it doesn't make God lesser, it makes God greater.
Yes.
And I also think that people overthink things. I don't. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or I wouldn't be doing it. That's kind of how I look at it.
Very well said.
You know, I'm doing the ways, you know, and I know my mother's passed away. I know she would be happy with me doing this. My mother would think this is the coolest thing ever. So I like to think that my mom's up there smiling down at me and happy, because I'm telling the truth the best I can based on what I know, and I'm okay with it. And some people like it, some people don't, and that's okay too. And I'm not trying to force it down anybody's throat. I'm just trying to give everybody a different look at things, which I think is important.
Yes.
I really do. So.
What is your long-term goal? I mean, there's like an evolution to the Bigfoot researcher. You know, they start out first trying to prove it to themselves, and once they have done that, prove it to themselves that Sasquatch exists, then they try to prove it to everybody else because they don't want to look like a fool. And then they get to the point finally where none of that matters anymore, and it's more about the experience. Are you at this point?
I'm at that point. I'm not. You know what? If I don't have a camera, it's not the end of my world. If I miss a piece of evidence and I can't share it, it's like the experience with the one where the big male came out in front of me and stood in front of me. I couldn't be more happy with that. You know, I can't prove it, but my goal is for them to be so comfortable and for them to trust me that they can walk into camp during the day. No issue. I got them walking into camp at night being pretty comfortable. My goal is, well, let's have it happen during the day. And I will say this, since that big interaction with the mail where he walked in, our gifting station, we have something that happens that's unique. I get to literally watch, we stand about 100 yards back, and we leave out our gifts, and we watch them from afar with their eye shine come into the place and take it and go. So the last trip last year, we've been doing this for 5 years at this place. This is how cautious we are. I walked down in there while they were there, and they didn't. They stepped back. There was a lot of them there too. There's more there than I thought. There's a lot, and I could see the eye shines around me. And my co-founder was with me, and he watched, and he said some of them moved around, and they did circle me, but they didn't do anything. I same thing. I just kind of stood there and just let it play out, and so I'm evolving as an investigator, which is what you want. But I'm evolving in ways that I can't really bring evidence to the table with it. But this is going to answer your question. It was a great experience. I wouldn't change anything for the world.
Exactly.
So
I'm exactly where you're at. It's like wow. What is that?
That was I've got a question.
Oh, sorry. Go
question
ahead.
From the room. Snuck up on you with that one. Digger Dog wants to know how many square miles. Digger Dog wants to know how many square miles does he think his family group covers.
I got a couple of groups that butt up against each other, and they use the road as a territorial marker, and they do that. And I'm going to say about 20 by 20, which if you look at 20 by 20 and you take into consideration altitude and all those factors, there's more Sasquatches out there than people are saying.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you that I also believe that. I think that these crazy guesses these people are making are absurd. They're way too low.
Uh-huh.
They're not inbreeding. In Colorado, they're not inbreeding.
Meeting others somewhere.
Yeah, you're meeting others somewhere. You're not inbreeding. You're not losing digits here. So your guesses have to be low. There can't be a couple of hundred in Colorado and not have inbreeding showing up on the digit loss.
Right.
And that's not happening. I'm going to tell you where I think that people are making guesses wrong on the numbers. They're going into the woods and they're taking into account what's in the woods. Well, they're forgetting the BLM is pumping sheep. They're pumping livestock. They're bringing grains and foods all up into the areas, and there's cities and stuff around. We leave out massive amounts of foods for our dog and cats on the peripherals of cities. There's a lot more food than they're even taking into account. And that's why we got a couple areas where they brought cows in, and I know that they've taken cows.
Yeah.
I know it for a fact. And a cow's a big food source.
Yeah. It's very heavy, too.
Well, and you've heard of the story.
What do you think about their strength? I mean,
I think it's off the chart. I couldn't believe that tree was broken. I mean, that's a 60-foot pine. It's 2.5 feet across. I don't know how you'd break it. Get up in the top of it and pull it. I don't know. I don't know the dynamics of how you do it, but I know that's what happened.
Well, it's just like in Alaska. The Sasquatch are reported to pull whole trees out of the ground, turn it upside down, and ram it back and just around the root system high up in the air. Now, there's no way, that there was no evidence of machinery coming in and doing this. It was in areas that the machinery couldn't get to. There was no explanation for what they were finding in Alaska.
I think it's off the charts. If you look at gorillas, chimpanzees, and humans, we're all very strong. But the Sasquatch I saw, that 8-foot male, he's at least 800 pounds. he made, and I'm a pretty good sized guy. I'm about 5'11", 240. He made me look. I was totally intimidated. Let's just say that.
He made you look like a little boy.
I was a little boy. I really felt. I did feel intimidated. I will tell you that, very much so. And I've heard a lot of people say that. There used to be a really good Bigfoot researcher here in Colorado. His name was Keith Foster, and he had a really good sighting of a Bigfoot, and it was a young male, just kind of like what I had. And in his situation, the young male was very, how do I want to say, Keith said it, sure of himself. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and they are. You know, in their home, they know they own us to a certain degree, and a lot of them are very sure of themselves, which, why wouldn't you be?
Exactly. Well, we're down to 3 minutes, and I want to get a final remark from you before we leave everyone for tonight. Can you tell us, the new researchers out there, can you give them one handy and invaluable insight to what they should be doing when they go out in the field?
You know what? I use every piece of information to find a group. I use the reports I can get from every available source, and then what happens at SUR is I'll get a report, and I'll go into the area, and the first thing that I do is I look for tree breaks. Okay. I look for tree breaks because tree breaks aren't everywhere. I look for tree breaks outside the norm. And it hasn't let me down yet. We have 12 or so investigators, and a lot of the groups that we found started out with a simple report. We found some tree breaks, and then we went from there. So look for tree breaks outside the norm, and you have to study tree breaks. There's a lot of snow damage. Look for things that are abnormal, and you know what? You'll go far. The other thing is understand you are going to be afraid in the beginning, and that's okay. Everybody is, and you may still be. To this day, I'm still afraid sometimes. It's how you handle that fear that makes you the better Sasquatch researcher.
Excellent. Excellent advice, Mike. Thank you so much for coming on our show. We'd love to have you back sometime if you'd be agreed to that.
Yeah, I would love to. Can I say one more thing? Everybody asked really great questions tonight. To the gentleman with the dog, I know researchers that have been a long time in this that take their dogs and they're okay because their groups are used to that dog. They trust the person. They trust the dog to be respectful, just like the person is. So it can be done. It's just harder. It's just harder. So that's the truth. That's the way I see it. So.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mike, for coming on, and you were fantastic. Absolutely. I would love to come research with you sometime. If I'm ever in Colorado, I'm going to be looking y'all up.
That would be great. That would be great. I enjoyed everybody immensely. I appreciate you having me on. I do. And if anybody ever has any questions or anything, the other thing that we do at SUR is we're open book. If you have a question, you can email me at any time, and I will respond.
Okay.
So.
All right. We need to go ahead and roll that outro. We'll be on next week. We're going to have a call-in show. If you have a Bigfoot sighting or experience to tell us about, please call in next week. All right. Roll that outro, and we're going to call it a night.
Good night, all.
Good night, all.